everyone, it's Kay. Welcome to my guide for Anime Weapon Necromancer. This is a minion build that you can start with low budget or solo self-fought gear and then scale into the endgame with more investment. The build has good bossing DPS and clear speed. However, animate weapons are temporary minions, so you have to resummon them during mapping and long boss fights. After the showcase, I will go over the key mechanics of the build, the passive tree, and gear including gems and links for both the low budget and high budget versions. Firstly, a quick look at the low budget build in T16 Summit with the Scourge League mechanic. Next is a Minomap in a high budget build with Wand and Shield. Before you can start mapping, you will need to summon your minions by casting Blade Force several times, then casting Animate Weapon one by one.
When I'm ready,
Lastly, Maven with double wands. Unfortunately, I died at the end because I was focusing on Maven's health bar instead of her attacks.
I'm ready, I'm ready to play.
For both versions of the build, you increase DPS by scaling the level of animate weapon as high as possible. This increases the damage per minion as well as the number of minions. Next, buff damage with the Carrion Golem for extra base damage, a Carnage Chieftain for frenzy charges, and a Host Chieftain for power charges. If you can get a third Spectre, use a Demon Harpy or Pale Seraphim to make monsters take increased damage. Then use the Hydrosphere melee splash mechanic to hit bosses twice by reflecting melee splash damage. In this part, I'll go over the passive trees for both versions. Here's the passive tree for the low budget build. The key points are 2 extra passive points from killing all bandits, Sovereignty Cluster for mana reserve, and the Masteries. In the jewel sockets, use Ghastly Eye jewels with life, damage, and attack speed. I also recommend getting Minion Taunt. Here's the passive tree for the high budget build. The key points are 2 extra passive points from killing all bandits, Righteous Army Anointment, Sovereignty Cluster, the Masteries, and 2 sets of cluster jewels. The large jewels are minion damage with 8 points. The most important notable is Vicious Bite, then you can look for other notables such as Feasting Fiends and Renewal. The minion life medium jewels are for increasing damage and survivability. The notables are a combination of Feasting Fiends, Renewal, and Life from Death. In the small sockets, I recommend Fortress Covenant, Quickening Covenant, Surging Vitality, and Enduring Composure for endurance charges. In the jewel sockets, use Ghastly Eye jewels with life, damage, and attack speed. I also recommend getting Minion Taunt. For both versions, the ascendancies are Mindless Aggression, Unnatural Strength, Commander of Darkness, and Mistress of Sacrifice. For the Pantheons, I recommend Lunaris and Shakari to reduce incoming damage. Here's an overview of the gear including gems and links. The helmet is for keeping the support minions alive, so the important modes are extra gem levels and minion life. You can also get increased physical damage taken. For the enchant, look for 21% Flesh Offering. The gems are Carrion Golem, Wraith Spectre, Feeding Frenzy, and Maim. The body armor should increase animate weapon gem level. The cheapest option is a +2 duration Tabula. At the high end, you can use a rare armor with +1 dex and +1 active. The gems are Animate Weapon, Increase Critical Damage, Minion Damage, Predator, Multi-Strike, and Melee Splash. I highly recommend Divergent Melee Splash as your first gem upgrade. And to save currency, Divergent Multi-Strike only loses 9% DPS compared to Awakened Multi. The gloves are Vixen's Entrapment to get an extra curse. The gems are Blade 4, Skitterbots, and Assassin's Mark. For the low budget build, the fourth gem is Tempest Shield. And for the high budget build, the fourth gem is Unbound Ailments. The gloves will auto-cast Assassin's Mark when you self-cast Punishment which is socketed in the boots. Look for or craft boots with good movement speed, life, and resistances. For the low budget build, the gems are Flame Dash, Punishment, Determination, and Defiance Banner. And for the high budget build, the gems are Flame Dash, Punishment, Pride, and Dread Banner. For the weapon, the important mods are +1 to minions, +1 to spells, or +1 to physical spells. You can also get minion damage and attack speed. It also needs an open suffix to craft trigger. The gems are Desecrate, Flesh Offering, and level 12 Arcane Surge. For the offhand, you can use a shield for extra survivability, or a second wand for more DPS. Note that you can also get +1 to physical spells on your shield. The gems are Cast when damage taken linked to Immortal Call, and Unlinked Hydra Spray. For the amulet, use a Hunter Warlord amulet to get +1 to Dex and +1 to Fizz. I recommend Righteous Army Anointment and Minion Speed Benchcraft. Use the rings to get life and resistances. For the high budget build, you also need Aspect of the Avian and one unset ring with level 1 phase run. And I highly recommend crafting minion speed on both rings. You can use a rare belt with good rolls, but for the high budget build, I recommend Darkness Enthroned to socket 2 Ghastly Eye Jewels. Lastly, the flasks are Life with Bleed Removal, Granite with Extra Armor, Quicksilver with Speed Boost, Quartz with Fizz Removal, and a Mana Flask for summoning animate weapons. As always, a big thank you to my patrons. Thank you for your support. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this build guide. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And please check the pinned comments for any updates. Thanks for watching. Bye!